Well, at least it was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life until I saw this. So here's Jimmy Dore talking to someone I've never heard of about transgenders. So, people sent this to me and were like, oh, you're a transgender. What do you think about this? So I haven't watched the full clip yet, but this is pretty embarrassing. So let's watch.
My only tip would be to the trans community is that maybe stop turning allies into enemies, because it seems like that's what's happening in this. But again, I don't know many trans people, so.
What is that? Like, okay, so obviously they were having a conversation about this beforehand, and I would love to have the full context, but Jimmy Dore loves to private his archives, right? He doesn't like anyone to know what he was saying unless you record it in real time. So, but if anyone can find me the extended clip on this, I would love to know. What does that mean? Like, I said, what? Like, there's got to be some like extremely relevant context, right? How does what? But let's continue.
I don't even know what the hell really their thoughts are. All I know is the loudest ones online. Now, Kurt, you know some trans people?
Yeah.
Folks, I don't know any trans people. They're turning allies into enemies, ? Do you know a trans person? Guest I have on. And said, how about this? All right, I'm just going to say this now. Everyone who watches Jimmy Dore, I will go on Jimmy Dore's show and we can talk about trans issues. I don't care if he disagrees. I am willing to go on Jimmy Dore's or in his show and talk about transness. Talk about transgenderism. Talk about wokeism. Whatever the fuck he wants to talk about that he thinks is relevant. Let's do it. If he is struggling to find a trans person to go on his show to talk about trans issues, struggle no longer, because I'm right here. So, but let's see what this guest, who might or might not know a trans, let's see what they're saying.
Yeah, I know 3 people that friends of mine that transition. I know before and after, and I was in New York for years. Most people they're not like this. This is a very specific. Did you see that memo that just came out where the trans legal something, which is a major activist group, they found that they're not doing well with the women's sports argument.
Oh, I did see.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's a thing like I could have told you for free, but they probably paid $30,000 to figure it out through polling that. So this is some kind of prepackaged fake activism that's not working, and the people online doing it. That's a small majority of people, most of whom nothing to do with being trans are.
Can someone tell me what a small majority is, by the way? What is a small majority? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that
mentally ill people. That's what Twitter elevates the majority of people. So this is some kind of prepackaged fake activism that's not working, and the people online doing it. That's a small majority of people, most of whom nothing to do with being trans are mentally ill people. That's what Twitter.
So, okay. The trans people that advocate for trans rights are mentally ill. It's not because they're trans. It has nothing to do with them being trans. But they are trans. They're advocating for trans rights. And they're mentally ill. I'm not saying that because they're trans. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it.
Twitter elevates that. And Instagram elevates that.
I agree.
So most of the people that you meet just want to live their lives and don't want to. They're not trying to send anybody off to a separate nation of untouchables based on small disagreements.
What does that mean? Sincerely, what the fuck does this mean? This is what happens when you don't have trans friends in your life. Yes, most trans people want to be left alone. But you know what the problem is? None of you motherfuckers will leave us the goddamn fuck alone. That's the goddamn problem. If y'all would just leave trans people the fuck alone, trans people wouldn't be requesting rights. Why do you think trans people want rights in society? Because they don't have them. In fact, later on in the show, I'm going to talk about this story. Transgender people are 3 times as likely to go hungry, new census data shows. I'm going to get into that later. But again, I don't understand this. This makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Okay, so trans people are mentally ill. It's not because they're trans. It's just because they want trans rights. And most trans people just want to be left alone. But then there's some that want to send you to an island somewhere. What the fuck? What?
This is almost all social media has produced this illusion that it's a thing.
What's a thing?
This is the world we're living in now.
What is?
That you have to apologize for taking a picture with Dave Chappelle, who, by the way, has probably the most popular comedy special of the year on Netflix, which Barack Obama sits on the board of.
Okay, so they're talking about Patton Oswalt taking a photo with Dave Chappelle, which I didn't talk about that. I was going to. People wanted me to, but I didn't. But like, my opinion is, if Patton Oswalt is trying to change Dave Chappelle's mind and make him not be such a raging fucking bigot, anti-trans maniac, that's a good thing. I have no problem with that. If he's trying to be that friend who's trying to convince him to step off the fucking hill that he's dying on, that's a good thing. I don't think it's gonna work, but if that's what his intentions are, that's good. And that, to my understanding, is what his intentions are. But again, the idea that you're going to promote Dave Chappelle, even though you know he's a raging maniac, anti-trans bigot, that's my problem. That's my problem part of it. Also, what the fuck does Obama sitting on the board of Netflix have to do with... What?
Shouldn't Barack Obama have to apologize for green lighting or being on the same platform as Dave Chappelle? How come Barack Obama gets off on this one?
Okay, first of all, yeah, Barack Obama should apologize. Not just for sitting on the board of Netflix, right? But for a lot of things. Barack Obama has made a lot of mistakes, motherfucker, and he needs to apologize. He needs to go on the actual apology tour. Remember when Obama was president and he went and said sorry about a bunch of stuff and Republicans were like, oh, he's on an apology tour, right? Like, okay, he needs to do that, but for real. But what the fuck does that have to do with this? Like, what the fuck? What?
How come he doesn't have to pay a price for this one?
What?
Isn't he a board member of fucking Netflix?
Is Jimmy Dore under the illusion that trans people like Barack Obama? Are you joking? Is this a fucking joke? Are you stupid?
Or is it right? Doesn't he have power over at Netflix? And Dave Chappelle's the biggest comedy special at Netflix. What? How come he doesn't? But Patton Oswalt, who doesn't have any power, has to apologize for just taking a picture with him.
Now again, do I think that Patton Oswalt has to apologize? I don't necessarily think so. If he wants to be a positive influence in Dave Chappelle's life and he thinks that he can change his mind on that, that's a good thing. I think that that's a good thing. But yes, also, you have to understand, maybe you shouldn't be posting this stuff on social media. Maybe the idea of you doing like a photo shoot with someone who's a raging anti-trans bigot is maybe during a moment where like trans people are under fire generally all the time anyway, maybe that's not the greatest idea. But again, this idea that everything is so binary, trans people attack, like that didn't happen. I didn't see that anywhere. Everyone I saw talking about this was just basically like, yeah, I hope he can change Dave Chappelle's mind, but also why are you posting this online and making a big deal out of it? Because it doesn't need to be online. That's the thing. But also, again, there's another clip on this as well that's adjacent where they're talking about Dave Chappelle and whether or not he's anti-trans or whatever. So let's dig into this.
And supports trans rights. I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle 100% supports trans rights.
So again, in Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up special, he misgenders his trans friend who committed suicide. So okay, the punchline to this joke is that like what was it? It was like, you know, your father's the best woman I've ever known or some shit. The punchline is to misgender and mock a dead trans woman. But he 100% supports trans rights. What?
I don't think he would say, no, we should discriminate.
To misgender someone after they are dead, to claim that that's not discrimination, it requires a level of psychopathy that is so obvious that the fact that this guy, like, I don't understand why Jimmy Dore just doesn't say, I don't care about trans people. Because it's clear he doesn't give a fuck. It's clear he doesn't give a fucking fuck. So
Against trans people. Have you ever heard him say that, Kurt?
No, but if you don't go along with every little thing
so this
is what says.
The punchline of his joke about a dead trans woman is that, like, he's talking to their kid or whatever and saying that your father's the best woman ever or some shit. That's fucking disgusting. That is horrible. That is evil. He says he is Team TERF. What does TERF mean? It stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. TERFs, their life mission is to basically ban trans people from public spaces, especially in the UK, right? That's where TERFs, it's, you know, we refer to it as TERF Island because they're so active over there, right? The idea that Dave Chappelle is 100% in favor of trans rights or something is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
This is what Glenn Greenwald, the point he makes. Glenn Greenwald, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
I love how he's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. You know who else has prizes? Like, what is that? Like, that's like saying, oh yeah, Barack Obama, Nobel Peace Prize winner. What? Like, what?
He makes the point that if I agree with your agenda 97%, but I have a quibble with 3% of it, that doesn't make me an enemy.
This is another thing where it's like the made up percentages. This is the made up. Oh yeah, I agree with trans rights 97%. What does that mean? I agree with your rights 97% of the time. What? Like, what? What? I just don't understand. Like, what is that? Like, that's like saying, like, you know, like during fucking segregation or something, it's like, oh, black people have rights. Look at, they've got their own separate water fountains. What do you mean they don't have rights? They've got the right. Like, what? Like, what do you mean you, like, what does that mean you agree 97% of the rights? Like, when you want someone to be treated as an equal in society, that is like that is one of the very few things in society that is binary. You are either equal or you are not equal. How can you be, like, I want you to be 97% equal? What does that even mean? How can you even quantify that?
That makes me an ally that we have small disagreements with. But if you don't agree with them 1,000%, you're now an enemy, which is a dumb way to do it.
Again, have you noticed that there is no argument here? There is no specificity. There is no talking about, like, what are these disagreements? What is the 3% that we disagree on?
Because you're now turning allies into enemies, which is what they tried to do with the patent. And
also, who's they? The idea that trans people are a monolith? Like, again, I'm a trans person. Every trans person I know said that, yeah, maybe talking to Dave Chappelle and doing a big public stunt was a bad idea, but if you want to be friends with him on a personal level and stop him from dying on this hill of bigotry, that's a good thing. It's called constructive criticism. I don't understand.
Again, as far as I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle would not be for discriminating.
Again, I want to remind you all, the entire punchline of his transphobic jokes are the sole idea of the punchline is discrimination. That's it. That's the joke.
Against trans people. In fact, I've never heard him say it. I only saw his one special. Maybe he said it in his other special. I didn't see it.
No, he said nothing like that. He didn't accept the basic premise, I guess, you know.
I don't think he says they shouldn't be married. I don't think he says they shouldn't be allowed to employment or should be discriminated against in housing or lending or anything. Right?
But if you criticize any part of it, this is the argument.
I don't criticize any part of it. What is any part of it? What does that mean? What is it? What is the part that you're What?
You're basically killing people by not accepting every little thing.
Look at this guy's eyeballs, by the way. Look, I don't know. Look at this fucking shit. I gotta take a screenshot of this. Like, oh my God. Like, look at that. Like, that is some crazy ass shit. Hold on. Look at this guy's eyeballs. This is like an alien being of some kind. Check this out. Look at this. What is that? Like, I'm just gonna, like, leave that on screen for the rest of this. But, like, what is that? Like, that's crazy shit.
Not accepting every little thing that an activist said. And, you know, also, for the record, remember Chappelle's trans friend that ended up committing suicide after being bullied by...
So that's a lie. So, like, this is another big lie that, like, they've spun. So, again, the situation here now, this was released by the friend and roommate of Daphne. I forget her last name. There was no bullying. No one bullied Daphne into suicide. Actually, you know what was interesting was one of the key things was that she did commit suicide. Now, again, you can't, when someone commits suicide, the idea that you're blaming it on one sole thing, that's not how suicide works. No one kills themselves because of one thing. It's like, oh, I failed a test. Boom, I'm killing myself. It's a confluence of factors that add up and get bottled up over time that eventually explode. There can be a catalyst, but no one kills themselves over one small thing, right? Being like attacked online doesn't make someone kill themselves. It's an entire lifetime of experience that leads up to that moment. But, again, that's just made up. No one bullied Daphne. If you look at all of Daphne's posts online, you see how many times are trans people bullying her? 0 times, actually. 0 times. You can literally just look at her post history when she was defending Dave Chappelle, and you can see 0 trans people had an issue with it. And if you see any trans people criticizing, it's constructive criticizing. Right? Now, again, what happened here? Like, let's look at the timeline here. Now, again, I think I did make a video about this, or maybe I made a Twitter thread about it. But what happened was, like, she did a bunch of sets with Dave Chappelle, and then found out later that Dave Chappelle was misgendering her and using her as a token and making fun of her when she did not appear at certain sets. Now, that could have been a catalyst, right, for what made her kill. I'm not going to say Dave Chappelle made her kill herself, because that's not true. But again, the idea that trans people bullied her into suicide, that is complete fiction. Right? Now, again, why was that made up? Because Dave Chappelle feels bad that he might have possibly been a catalyst, so he's overcorrecting and making things up. No one in the trans community bullied Daphne at all. At all. The only thing that she got was some slight criticism, like, say, hey, be careful, I don't think this guy's really an ally. That's it. That's the extent. If you look at all of her public posts from before she killed herself, you will find 0 bullying by the trans. It is complete fiction. They made it up entirely in whole cloth. None of it is real. None of it is real.
The trans community online?
Is that so? He goes on, for all the things he's helped me evolve on, I'll always disagree with where he stands now on transgender issues. I wish he would have put what it was that he disagreed with him on, because I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to play dumb. I actually am dumb. I don't fucking
That's the one true thing. I might even clip that for a sound drop, because that's good.
know what it exactly is he disagrees with.
I don't think he knows either. I think he knows people were mad at him, and he has to say.
But this
something.
is what I mean. The backlash. You took a picture. You think he took a picture with David Duke or Ted Bundy?
So again, I need y'all to understand that this trans panic that we're dealing with now is completely fictitious. Trans people aren't going around like fucking breaking women's skulls in MMA. Trans people aren't going around like sexually assaulting women and girls in bathrooms. This whole fucking panic is starting and based on fictitious narratives that never happened and never existed. Dave Chappelle literally said he is Team TERF. The TERF acronym is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. The idea that you would say, yes, I am trans exclusionary radical feminist, literally, how can you interpret that to be not trans exclusionary? Oh yeah, I'm a trans inclusive trans exclusionary radical feminist. That doesn't make it, what? He literally openly says that. Now again, let's imagine he doesn't know what the term means and just said it because he thought it was funny. Then you'd think, oh, he would clarify. Right? In his next set, he would go like, oh yeah, I said that. I didn't know what it means. Someone told me what it meant, and I realized it was stupid. He hasn't done that. He's doubled down. He's tripled down. He's quadrupled down. He's made more and more and more and more and more vicious attacks on trans people. So the idea, there's like, oh, he just is, he's a trans inclusionary, exclusionary, like what the fuck? And then also, like, what is this? Like, who even is this person? Why do I know who this exists now? Like, look at this this guy's a freak. I mean, look at him. Like, none of these people, like, what? This is your idea of an expert on trans issues? This guy? Like, are you fucking joking? Like, seriously, man. Like, these people are maniacs. And the idea that you're gonna blame trans people because Patton Oswalt felt the need to, like, write a post about why he took a photo with Dave Chappelle. How is that trans people's problem? What? I don't, like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with trans people? And then again, turning allies into enemies. This is all an excuse. Oh, you criticized me somewhat slight. No, not even that. You criticized someone else somewhat a little bit, maybe. I don't know, because I'm not going to cite the criticism. I'm not. I'm just going to cite the response to the criticism that may or may not have existed. So let me get this straight. So trans people may have criticized someone slightly somewhere, so that they wrote a defense of their post, and then that's turning allies into enemies because ? Do you see how none of this makes any sense at all? It's all a bunch of garbage. It's all a bunch of moral fucking panic over nothing. It's nothing. It's garbage. It's shit on my shoes. And I need you to understand that these people are peddling bullshit. This is bullshit. Folks, I need y'all to understand there is a dog behind me. Look at that dog. I don't know how you deal with this, Andrea. I don't know how I deal with it either. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Like, I mean, like, honestly, let me even say like this. Let me add this as an amendment on this segment. All right? The idea... Now, like, I am a trans woman on the internet, right? I get death threats, I would say every week, almost every day, from Nazis, neo-Nazis. I've been swatted by neo-Nazis because I'm trans, right? I get harassment every day. Now, not all harassment contains death threats, but I get people attacking me online every single day in my comment section on YouTube and on other places because I am a trans woman. Now, I'm still making videos. I'm still here. Right, now let's assume, right, trans people are attacking Patton Oswalt or Dave Chappelle. Is it every day? Are they commenting on this guy's shit every day where he can see it every day? Chances are no. But then also, Dave Chappelle is not in the same situation. He is in a position of power because he is a cisgender person in a society where where we are living in a cis-normative society where cis people have a higher ranking in the structure of society that we're living in, right? So the idea of a trans person attacking a cis person for being cis is like the idea of a black person attacking a white person for being white. It doesn't make as much sense, right? A black person attacking a white person for being white isn't as bad. If not, it's barely bad at all, to be honest with you. Similarly to how a white person attacking a black person for being black is much worse, right? So the idea that they're going to try to play role reversal here is ridiculous. Do you know, again, on a personal level, anyone who's trans, do you know the amount of attacks and hatred that we have gotten since Dave Chappelle's done his new bigot tour? I'm going to tell you, I've been a trans woman on the internet for a long time, right? The entirety of the time that I've been trans, I've been a trans woman on the internet. So, I will tell you that when you have these big stories, and Dave Chappelle did his big Netflix special, the amount of hate I received online increased dramatically. I'm talking like maybe 5 or 6 times. And I did make videos on Dave Chappelle, and I did criticize Dave Chappelle. But not only were those the videos that I received a significant increase of hate on, but just in general. Like, in general, on videos that are about random topics that have nothing to do with my gender or trans or any related issues. On videos about, like, you know, Joe Biden fumbling in a speech. On videos about eating food properly. On videos about, like, you know, like, police shootings. I get people attacking me for being trans, and some of them will literally cite, oh, like, I heard that, you know, Dave Chappelle was right when he said that y'all are lunatics or something. Like, again, I need you to understand, right? Like, none of these people have any idea what they're talking about because they're not directly related to it, right? And so, like, I can tell you right now, I deal with this on a daily basis. I get death threats on a weekly basis, probably, from these Looney Tunes, right? So, the idea that Dave Chappelle is facing any similar kind of thing, to me, is impossible. Because, again, it's like the idea of a black person calling a white person a cracker. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's powerless. A trans person calling Dave Chappelle a bigot or a TERF when he proudly wears the label doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. But Dave Chappelle attacking trans people on his platform from a position of power, being a wealthy millionaire and son of people that worked in the State Department, that means a lot more. So again, it's all about your power in society. And the idea that Dave Chappelle, a black person, doesn't understand this is just even more embarrassing. So I wanted to add that amendment.